Hello to everybody. Glad to start a new course which called Introduction to Livestock Farming. It is a course online for plant students in agro studies that will learn a bit more about animals, which we also teach in agro studies. And this is only, as you can see, Introduction to Livestock Farming. And from the concept that we can see here, it's integrating crop livestock farming with animals. As you can see at hour number 3 on the left, animals eat crops, mostly on pasture, but not only. From the crops, they digest and dispose manure, which is used to fertilize the soil. In the soil, there will be seeds. With this fertilization, they will grow, become crops, and the animal will use it again. In between, the soil will improve itself because it will be good fertilization. So as we can see, it's an integration. To be more specific, I want to give some few quick facts. First of all, livestock farm management is a bit different. As you can see, it includes skills such as basic husbandry, which is where the cows stay. Nutrition, what do they eat? Cow, for example, all the livestock animals, of course. How the animals communicate, how do they prepare for giving milk, meat, etc. How do they adapt to work together with people to get everything that they need from us and that we take from them. All these skills we have to build with the animals around us, how to evaluate good or okay condition of an animal, and how to give attention to the right details. All of this is a little different than in plants agriculture because animals are in a different communication with us and depends on us much more. To be more specific, basic husbandry, which where the cows are staying, should be emphasized on the cows drink enough, be clean, and with low stress. Clean and dryness is very important. I'll talk more about it. Clear communication actually makes the animal ready and adapt better to the process that we take something from them, like milk, eggs, etc. When we talk about farmers usually need to adapt when things get wrong to the new environments, to the new challenge, and it depends on the knowledge of the system. Usually animals are different. Global warming is here to stay. We have to adapt to new concepts. So it depends how well we know the system. When I say know the system, we have to plan how to measure results from the cows, the outcomes, to determine success for where we want to go, what we want to achieve. The first thing I want to distinguish is between two kinds of farming, animal farming. One we call intensive farming, and one we call extensive farming. So what's the difference between them? Usually, I'll take my picture down. When we work more, put more money, and fertilize more, usually it's in order to get a lot more in return because we put more money. and we call it intensive livestock farming. And usually we know that it's intensive when we achieve high yields, which is what they give us in return, and a small place. This is intensive. Not much land gives me a lot. We call it intensive agriculture. The opposite, in less labor, we put less money and less fertilization. We get back less, but in larger area. And that's very common in what we call extensive livestock farming. So I want to explain again. Extensive means big land, the animals are in the land, eat what's in the land, and they produce less. Intensive, when we give them shelter, we build them a house, we bring the food for them, it costs us much more, and we take in return much more from them, which is intensive. So in extensive, we actually get less yields over big area of land, which means we will have more animals in that place, and sometimes it's more suitable. So the bottom line is that the amount of input, how much we put in the farm per unit of land, is the main way to distinguish between intensive and extensive agriculture. In Israel, aside from the beef cattle farming, which we will also learn in this course, most other areas are intensive livestock farmings, and we'll focus on them in this introduction to livestock farming. They start with a small movie, actually the end of this movie. You will have it in the Moodle, the whole movie, and you will have in the Moodle the whole course. But here I only touched the bottom line of it, about the animal husbandry, where they kept, where they live. Takes time until it loads up in Zoom, but it does. In the meantime, until it comes in, if it comes in, I want to explain that when we talk about husbandry, different animals, different areas, different continents will use different kinds of husbandry, of course. It is loading. But slow.
Conclusion. Animals have been an inevitable part of human life since the Neolithic period that began around 10,000 BCE. Through animal husbandry, animals like cattle, goats, sheep, pigs, etc. have been domesticated and used for food and other purposes. Nowadays, animals are being reared for pets and companionship. Hence, animal husbandry is playing a valuable role in human welfare and commercial development. Summary. Animal husbandry is defined as care and management of animals involving selective breeding and livestock raising to improve the behavior and genetic qualities of animals to increase profit. Animal husbandry can be classified into 4 types, namely dairy, poultry, fish and bee farming. Dairy farming involves methods for obtaining dairy products, such as milk, cheese, curd, butter, yogurt, cream, etc., involving animals, such as cows, buffaloes, goats, sheep, etc. Poultry farming involves domestication of birds, such as chicken, turkey, duck, geese, pigeon, etc. for meat and eggs. Fish farming, otherwise called aquaculture or pisciculture, in which fish are reared in tanks and ponds for commercial purposes. Bee farming, called apiculture, requires maintaining bee colonies in man-made hives for honey, wax, and pollination on a large scale. Animal husbandry employs farmers and increases their standard of living, enables crossbreeding, and proper disposal of animal waste.
That was just a preface of what we'll talk. And we start with basic animal husbandry. So as we heard before, now I pay more attention to details. Water, all the time, they must get water. I want to emphasize, I want to show you a pattern. This world, planet Earth, has 72 give and take water, sea, and about 30% land, give and take. Our body, same, 70% water, 30% not water, and also the animals around us. So this is the pattern of life, mostly water. So water is a very important element when we have animal husbandry, that they depend on our facilities to supply water to them. They must have, and in good number. Shelter, some roof over the head, cleanliness, low stress, all are components of what we call basic husbandry, and we know where to aim. This is our goal. They will be more healthy and give us more in return when they will have enough water, we call it hydrated, when they will be clean and dry, and handled with minimum stress. Today we put much more emphasis on minimal stress than we put, let's say, more than 10 years ago. But without a question, water is the most important nutrient, should be accessible for animals at all time, for the reasons I said. Shelter doesn't always mean to have a roof. It can also have just some defense from the wind under a mountain, for example, or we build some area that they can get into a shelter. It doesn't have to be a house over their head. I want to say animals need protection from the environment, sometimes very strong winds, and sometimes very harsh rain, sometimes very cold, sometimes warmer, and we actually take production from them. So it's not only about them staying alive, also to produce well. So we have to give them protection. Cleanliness usually minimizes disease and promotes animal comfort. Once they will be comfortable, they will be less sick. Low stress handling is a must. Must for all operations in our courses, in animal livestock in agro studies, we emphasize that. Last thing I want to talk about husbandry is basic stockmanship, which is the way or the relationship between the farmer and the animals. It is essential for everyone in the farm because we are around animals. And we all in relation with them once we take what they produce. We talk about husbandry, we talk about houses in intensive farming. In this picture, you can see the basic. The basic is that we have to have some kind of ventilation that will push the moisture, the gases that are in the building out and fresh air will come in. Housing are for protection. First of all, it must protect the animal against anything that can happen. We call hostilities. It means bad things that can happen from them in the environment. It's not only weather, it can be animals that are not wanted and things like that. In the housing, we supply their food. So we supply feeding, watering, isolation. Many animals in one house, if some are sick, we isolate them so they will not contaminate all the rest. And comfortability is actually something that we are more and more aware of. We call it welfare. And when we say health, today we say health and welfare. So comfortability is something that we pay attention to as well. And ventilation should be in every houses, as I said before. So right now what I'm doing, I'm going through the main areas in an animal farm. I covered where they stay, and now I move to what they eat, animal nutrition. And in generally, when we say healthy gastrointestinal, it means digestive system, gastrointestinal tract, equals healthy animal. What they get, we call ration. Because if we are feeding them, we already decide to give them exactly all what they need in the right ration between the nutrients. Why? So they will give us more in return because we put more to feed them and to take care of them. So we call it a ration, in the right ratio between nutrients. So this ration and how it delivered will have a very important impact on how fast they will grow, how much they will produce. And when I say produce, they produce meat, they produce milk, they produce eggs. Mostly this is what they produce. It also has an impact on their immunity. And all will result in the reproduction. All these animals are giving us something. For example, in order to give milk, they need to get pregnant and give us the next generation every time, and then they have more milk. In order to reproduce egg every day, in reproduction, and in order to give us meat, they have to get pregnant, and we take the calf and grow it for meat. The calf, the pig, the fish. Reproduction is necessary, vital. For that, a correct body condition score, which we teach our students, correct body condition score, it means that we learn how to give score for body condition of our animals, every animal, combined with good enough minerals and vitamins in the food, not too many, but they must be there, will result in healthy animals and healthy offsprings, the newborns. And the one to emphasize here, we also emphasize it in our courses, it's not enough to give nutrients, not enough that I give them protein. I want to give them quality protein, quality grains, not any. Because quality ingredients will assure better health and more production. So we teach about what is quality, what are the indicators that we can learn in order to see that their body condition is optimal, not too skinny and not too fat. The 6 essential nutrients we all familiar with. The first 3, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. The main nutrients, minerals and vitamins must be included. And as I said before, water should also be included in this category. It is the most important nutrient, but also it drives dry matter intake. What is dry matter intake? Actually, since they drink all the time, I don't include it with how much they ate. So I want to know how much food they got aside from the water. So we calculate by dry matter intake. You know, every feed that we give them, how much water are in it. And if I calculate without the water, I know how much they ate. We call it dry matter intake. And when they are hydrated, drink enough, they will also eat more. I want to note, as you can see here, that on paper, the ration that we plan is not exactly the same as the ration that the animals eat. First of all, if we give food in the morning, it will be, for example, for cows, about 55% dry and 45% water in it. So 5 hours later, in a hot day, it will be more dry and less water in it. Second of all, it will be less fresh. It will not be exactly the same, but also on paper things are not at all like in reality. So if we take, we see from some laboratory how much protein are in certain feed, over time, it will not be exactly the same, but accurate enough. So even though correct ration formulation means not too much protein, not too much grains, enough fiber, etc., is very, very crucial. How we give it, when and where, is just as important for effectiveness of this nutrition. The next thing I want to touch is managing. I only touch it, it's not a management course. But how do we manage a livestock farm? I want to say management is a general term. It can mean different for me, for you, for everyone. And usually, when I say management, we means everyday work. What's the main thing that we are doing on a daily basis? For example, if we take a dairy farm, for example, we come in the morning, we say hello, after we drink coffee, we check out the animals, we actually closing the food for them so they can eat it easily. We go to milk if we are milking, if not, we're cultivating and make sure that they are lie down on dry areas. We'll talk about it in every one of the courses that you will be exposed in short course. But it's everyday operation. And usually the daily basis that we work are the most important predictor for success. To make one decision, like how many animals I will have, to make a new building for the cows, to learn or bring new equipment to the milking parlor is very, very important. But this is not how we operate it. We operate all these resources on a daily basis, and how we do it is considered to be the most important predictor for success. One thing that I want to talk more is about unthreatiness. Unthreatiness means that we have animals in our farm that actually don't give much, their production is lower. Actually, they eat more food and it takes me more money than what they give in return, or newborn calves or lambs that are not producing enough. I want to talk about it more. Our aim is to reduce unthreatiness in every farm. You can see on the bottom picture of a lamb. Actually, it's a kid from we have kids and lambs from sheep and goats. And we can see this is a lamb, but it could just be a kid. And we see it's not healthy. So unfruitiness, major problem that affect the health and body performance of animals that didn't die. So animals we call livestock if they are in livestock farming, means if we grow them and take something from them. Agriculture. So sometimes they don't die from disease. Most of the time, 95% of the time. They will not die, they will stay alive. But they're not the same. And when they're not the same, actually, they have many health and economical losses. As I said before, they just don't produce. I still take care of them like I take a healthy animal, but I don't get in return. Usually, it happens when they grow slower than we expect, an unknown amount of food. So you can see, in example, this lamb, around them, lambs get the same food and put weight, let's say, half a kilogram a day. And this one, 100 grams a day. And it's actually results in reduction in its body weight. And when I will sell him, about much smaller, get much less money. And the main causes after disease for that is many times intestinal parasites that we can kill, trace elements deficiencies. When I say trace elements, usually I talk about minerals, and usually not enough calcium is involved, not only calcium, some stress from environment that can cause the pneumonia, and usually those who were sick in severe pneumonia, their lungs are not the same, and any kind of management that could be better. Climate conditions, we didn't give them a good enough protection. The soil type, maybe the food is not as good. Weaning practices, when we stop giving them milk, we could improve. These are the main causes in an animal farm for unfruitiness. And our goal is to reduce it. Last thing I want to talk about before I will talk about, I want to show you the market in the world for livestock farming. Last thing I want to touch biosecurity in a livestock farming. Again, our aim is to protect also us. So protecting human health is a serious problem because disease can be transmitted to humans from animals, not always. So biosecurity means doing everything that we can to reduce the chance of an infectious disease. We don't want this kind of infectious disease to be carried from other sources to our farm. How can it get to our farm? By people that were in another farm and came to our farm. Animals that found themselves in our farms. It's not, for example, that a sheep came from one farm to my farm. It's mostly will be a bird that is sick and carried the disease from one farm to another farm. Equipment that they come and take from our neighbors because we didn't find it in my farm. And this equipment was not well cleaned. Or vehicles that are moving from one farm to another on a daily basis. So biosecurity means to minimize it. It's never to eliminate. I cannot eliminate, but I can minimize. It also means that if I already have it in the farm, I reduce the chance of this disease to leave my farm. Because if I am the one at the farm is already have some disease in it, it's my responsibility not to transfer it to the neighbors. Now I will talk about the main sections in every livestock farm, and after this introduction that I give, you will hear different teachers that will explain different elements and different animals that in different livestock farmings, but the sections are the same. Health and welfare is most important area in every livestock farm. Healthy animal will give us more, and today we say health and welfare together. Husbandry, we'll talk, all these animals will live either inside or outside, and also if they live outside, they have to live in a certain area, certain way. They will explain it and I will talk about extensive farming. I'm the teacher for cows. So when we say health and welfare, how we control disease? Again, we want to control them. We cannot eliminate them. They come from outer source. We want to control means we don't want more than 5 to 10% of disease around our area. And we put a lot of work to make sure that once we have a sick animal, immediately we take care of her, so not everyone else will be sick. So we control disease, we control parasites that can bring disease. We emphasize prevention, not how to treat the sick ones, but how not to get sick. How do we do it? We make sure that everything will be clean. Manure, we make sure that it will not be, either it will be very dry, and it could be one of the beddings. If not, how they will not lay down on it. In the manure, that can be also bacteria and viruses. We give vaccinations, and we actually talk about welfare state. Since I talked about welfare so much, and you will hear more about it, I want to say, what is welfare? So welfare actually is when they get enough water and food all the time, exposed to it all the time, when they are comfortable, they are not fear, they able to behave their normal behavior. Animals do have normal behavior. We can see here. They like to be together. Different animals, they like in this picture. We have to let them this opportunity. And we call it welfare state. Another section is reproduction. And that's the main area that we put in a lot of attention. You know, food they will get. We don't open a farm if we don't know how we feed these animals. But reproduction is where we work on a daily basis more, because we have to make sure that they are in the right place. We have to bring to service them either with artificial insemination or to bring their mates, to mate with them. We call it reproduction. And the outcome of reproduction, which is raising the new generation. And of course, collecting what they reproduce, like milk and beef, the new generation. So these are the main sections. And of course, nutrition. I want to summarize what we talked until now in talking about, I will show a few graphs about the global livestock market and the tendency where it goes. So we get to understand that whole livestock market, animal agriculture worldwide. First, we see that specifically in 2025, the prediction for this year is to grow from 3.48 billion dollars to 3.97 billion dollars. And if I talk with billions, it's like half more billion in 1 year. With a CAGR, which is growth rate of 16.4, in 6 years, it will generate more than double the amount that it had in 2024, the whole market. So what is this CAGR? CAGR we call compound annual growth rate, which is the rate of return. We put investment in money, and if for everything that I put in, I return back. We don't take from this investment anything, it grows. In this area, we see that if we put 3.48 billions in the world in 2024, it's not if, that's what we did. This is assumption how it will grow. It's expected to grow to 7.3 billions, actually 6 years later, which is 16.4%. I want to explain, I don't talk economy, I just want to make it clear. Let's say I have $100 with me, I can put it in the bank, I get some interest, I can invest in many other areas. This investment will return me 16.4 more money every year. So when I say return, I mean return, it would require for investment to go from beginning balance, as we can see in 2024, to the ending balance that is expected to be 7.3. If we keep investing it, let's consider the very good and promising growth rate. Another thing I want to show in here, the same market all over the world, how it was planned from 2016 to 2027. We are now toward the end of it, as you can see. But this time I want to talk more about where are the markets around the world. And we can see that in North America, the bottom one, and Europe, the one over North America, the second bottom one, is more than half of it, followed by Asia and the Pacific. These three continents is about close to 90% of all the market of livestock farming, and just United States and Europe, more than 60. When I want to check in a certain year, let's say year 2023, we can see the same thing, the market around the world. We see that in North America, 1/3 of all the livestock market, and I want to emphasize, when I say livestock market, I mean milk that people consume, meat from any kind of animal, fish, pigs, poultry, etc., eggs, and other ingredients. 1/3 of all the world market is in North America, followed closely by Europe, which is also followed closely by Asia Pacific. I want to say Asia Pacific is also where most of the people are, just in China and India, more than half of the whole world, probably. So of course, it's a market. But I want to say also, when we say market, it's not including local growing. Like if I grow my own food, it's not in the market. In Africa, they do it a lot. MEA is Middle East and Africa. Only 6% of the world market. Over there, in Africa and in the Middle East, which is also in Israel, what we grow, we also consume. So it's not around the market, only what we sell. So we can see again, that United States is 1/3. So let's take a good look when we say livestock monitoring market. Most 1/3 of all the production by animals is used by in North America. Let's see. We want to see the different types of livestock, including milk, eggs, and everything. And what we can see in this picture is how it grew from 2018 until now and expected to grow until 2028. So we can see on the bottom that the cattle, which are cows, for meat and for milk, is actually they get most of the share, followed closely by the pigs. But unlike cattle that give beef and milk, and most of the money here is coming from the milk for them, pigs, we only eat only the meat. Eggs from poultry are also, they are number 3 in here, but if you take a good look in these 10 years, look on the share of poultry in 2018, it was quite small, how fast it grew in 10 years. I want to emphasize it again. The poultry market from this, what we can see here, considered to grow the fastest. And again, we see the same thing in different years that in North America market, the growth rate is 16.7. From a different angle and different years, same area, we can see that cattle will occupy most of it, followed by swine. And a queen, by the way, when we say a queen, this is sheep. That's again around the world, not only in the United States. But if I want to talk only about meat, it's different. You can see here in this picture, first of all, on top, production by type in 2023. 2023, it's because it takes time until we get information, and this information is supplied by the United Nations. FAO is Food and Agriculture Organization in United Nations. We can see that the poultry, over there, is the meat that people eat the most in the world, followed closely by pigs. And just the meat from the cows is only in 3rd place. And in 4th place is sheep, which we call ovine. Fish is just around there, but the 4 are them. So I want to say again, by eating them, we eat more poultry than the other ones, mainly because it's cheaper, but also because it's very much easy to grow around the world, followed by pigs. We can also see how it grew in the last 60 years. So think about it like that. What we see here, that 60 years ago, a little more than 60 years ago, it was only about 20%, less than 20% from what it grew in 60 years. We eat much, 80% more than we ate 60 years ago, just from animals. It's really, really, really not obvious. It's a resource that also uses a lot of other crop resources, which we talk about. I want to say until here, we finished to talk about introduction to livestock farming. The next courses that you receive will be courses from each specific farm, like dairy cattle farm, sheep and goats, fish farms, beef farming, poultry farming. This one. It's been nice having you, and goodbye.